Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing my 1-year update for my Samsung Bespoke 3-section French door refrigerator. I'm going to be going over the good, the bad, and the ugly, so if you're thinking about buying one of these, this should be a really great video for you to watch. So you ready? Let's get into this. Just a quick note, my reviews are based upon the things that I think are important. That might be a little bit different for you, so what I recommend doing is after watching my video, you watch a couple of other videos made by different content creators. That way you get a wider range of likes and dislikes and testing criteria. That in turn should help you make a more informed buying decision, and that is the most important thing of all. In this video, I'm not doing a full product review, I'm sticking to observations that I've had over the last year of owning it. However, if you'd like to see that review, I do have a card right here. This is the Samsung Bespoke 3-section French door refrigerator. See? 3 sections. One of the big selling features of the Bespoke line is the fact that these panels can be customized. The white ones that are on here right now have a glass exterior, and they come in a whole bunch of different colors. If you're not into this glass look, they also make stainless steel ones as well. You can see that this thing doesn't have any handles on the outside. It's actually got a pocket up here where you can open the door, and another one down here as well. On this particular model, you can see there's no external dispenser for water or ice or anything like that. In fact, the one that I have here just has a water pitcher on the inside like this. The pitcher right here is auto-filling, so if I use some of this water, like that, all I gotta do is put this pitcher back in here, close the door, and after a few seconds, it'll refill automatically for me. Hear it? Just takes a few seconds to refill, but you can see, filled back up to the top. It's got a little basket in there too if you want to infuse your water with something. Some of the Bespoke models come in 2 different styles. You can either get this pitcher on the inside like this, or you have something on the outside called a beverage center. On the beverage center, there would be a door that would flip open from the outside here, and you'd have that pitcher, and you'd also have a water dispenser for glasses as well. The panels are where I have my first critique. That critique is that the glass panels are non-magnetic. So if I have this little refrigerator magnet, I can't stick that anywhere onto the front of this refrigerator. The only area that is magnetic is the sides over here. So you got the side of the door, and you got the side of the fridge. If that's a big deal for you, you could opt for the stainless steel panels for this thing, and those are magnetic, so you wouldn't have a problem. The only problem with that is if you happen to buy one of these from Home Depot, Lowe's, or any appliance dealer, they're probably going to have these glass panels on them because they look a lot prettier and it helps sell the fridge. The way around that would be to purchase the refrigerator directly from Samsung's website. That way you get to pick all your colors, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and Samsung can do your delivery for you within 2 or 3 days. I have 2 of these refrigerators and neither one of them took more than 3 days for them to get delivered. However, how long delivery takes is going to depend on a lot of factors, including availability of both the refrigerator and the panels that you pick. 2 things I'd like to mention about this autofill pitcher that I showed you right here. There's a Smarter Things app that you have to download for your refrigerator, and in that app there's an option to turn the autofill pitcher on and off. There's also an option to control that from the little control panel inside the refrigerator. By default, that's turned off, which I thought was a little bit weird. When I did the review for this fridge, I got a lot of comments with people thinking their autofill pitcher was broken. And that's because they didn't know they had to turn it on in the application. One other thing with this is if you open this door, there's a little button right here that tells the refrigerator whether this thing is in here or not. That way, if you have your pitcher out and you close the door like this, it knows it's not in there and it doesn't try to fill it up because you'd end up with water all over the place. A couple of times since I've owned this fridge, I've put this pitcher in here, closed the door, and it failed to fill the pitcher. In the last year, that's only happened maybe 4 or 5 times. And the last time it happened was probably about 6 months ago. I really don't know what was up with that, and it hasn't happened since, so I haven't had to call Samsung about it. But I did think it was a pretty big deal to mention it just because if that doesn't work, that's one of the best features of the refrigerator, so don't want that to break. The size of the refrigerator is 36 inches wide, which is pretty standard. From the ground to the top of the fridge is just under 70 inches. It's actually 69 3/4. And the depth on this is about 34 1/4 inches. Keep in mind that's the back of the refrigerator to the front. That's not the distance from the wall to the front. Keep in mind there's got to be a little bit of space back there to run the water lines and plug it in and everything else. If we wanted to get that measurement, we're actually talking about closer to 37 inches. This refrigerator is a standard depth fridge, and these things do stick out quite a bit. So if we're measuring from the front of my countertop to the front of the fridge, we're looking at about 11.5 inches. That's quite a bit, and it might make you tempted to get a counter depth instead. For most people, I wouldn't recommend that, because if we open this up and measure the depth of this fridge, from the back of the refrigerator to the front, we're only looking at about 26 inches of depth. And keep in mind that these shelves intrude into that a little bit. In fact, if we just measure out about midway to here, which is really where those shelves come in, we're only looking at about 21 inches of depth or so. That's not super deep, and if you get the counter depth version, it's going to be a lot less. Another thing that we need to talk about is these doors. I mentioned before that the refrigerator is 36 inches wide. However, if you're like most people, then you probably have a poorly designed kitchen. In that, I mean that your refrigerator is all the way on one end of your kitchen, and there's a wall right next to it. You'd be surprised how common that is. For a lot of refrigerators, you'd know about this already, because when you open your door, the handle that would normally be right here would bang into your wall. Well, if you were in the market for a refrigerator and you saw these, you would say, hey, there's no handles on this. I'm going to be able to open these doors up and it's going to be really great. The problem with that is the thickness of these doors. If I measure this out, this door right here is about 4¼ inches all by itself. With that, as I swing this door open, you can see back here that that's getting closer to the wall as I open the door up. It gets to a certain point and then it just sort of retracts back a little bit. But that also means you're going to need a lot more space in order to get these doors to open 90 degrees like this. The amount of space you actually need for this refrigerator is 39 inches. You can see I got this 3-inch space on the side of the fridge. You gotta have that, otherwise this door's not gonna open. If you've got 2.5 inches there, you can still get the door open, but you won't be able to swing this open 90 degrees unless you have the 3. That's really important, because if you can't open this door 90 degrees, then you can't open this drawer down here. That's a pretty big deal, and something you really need to know before you think about buying one of these. Be sure to measure that space really well. I also forgot to mention that the glass panels on these things are really easy to keep clean. The lighter colors don't show a lot of fingerprints, and they're a lot easier to deal with than the stainless steel panels. I really recommend them unless you really want that stainless steel look. Okay, opening this up again. This is a pretty typical layout for the 3 shelves on this side. There's another one hidden down here at the bottom also. This can go down here or one spot higher, but if you put this up in the higher spot, the thing is almost totally useless. These 2 shelves only have one spot that they can go in, so they're not really adjustable at all. The other side here is about the same. You got a little tiny shelf here on the bottom that I always forget's there because I can't see it. You've got your 3 shelves right here. The top and the bottom one are pretty much going to go in the spots that they're in, and this middle one can either go right here or down here. Really, it doesn't matter, because if I leave it up here, then I have a lot of space in the bottom section, and if I move it down here, then that extra space is going to be here in the middle section instead. Doesn't really matter. When we talk about space inside the fridge, I've pretty much set this up the way I think is the most usable. These shelves are all glass with plastic frames and an additional piece of plastic on the front to keep them from bending. The top one is in the only spot that it could really be in, and this middle section is adjustable up and down. For me, I found that this is probably the best spot for it, which is the lowest level it can be at. You get a little bit of space underneath for shallow stuff, but yet you still got enough space up top for full-size things like this stuff. If you put this up any higher, none of this stuff's gonna fit, and then you're gonna find that nothing fits into the fridge in any space. On the other side, you've got this pull-out shelf right here. I've got that pulled out. I got more space on the shelf if I have that pushed in. Then I can use this front space for stuff that's extra tall. In other refrigerators, I found that you can take this whole section and turn it up sideways, and that would open up this whole area. So I'm not really a big fan of this, seeing as how this back area would still be closed off. In use, I pretty much just leave this back because I gotta have enough space to put really tall things in here just in case. Your water filter gets screwed in right here in the middle, and to get to that you have to lift this thing up and hold it up with your hand while you're turning this. And you're gonna find that if you're changing your filter, it can be a little bit annoying to hold this up while you're trying to change your filter out. That's not really that big a deal because you don't really change those that often. The one thing I felt kind of was a big deal was with these drawers. You can see that I have 3 regular drawers, and then I have a Crisper Plus drawer. With a Crisper drawer, you typically have the ability to control temperature and also humidity levels. The reason for that is you have the ability to customize it for what is going in it. The way this is set up is for fruits and vegetables, and that would mean that it would help keep these fresh a little bit longer and my lettuce wouldn't wilt so fast. However, you only get 1 drawer like this, the other 3 are regular. And you can't customize this drawer at all. In fact, I thought that was a typo in the instructions when I got this refrigerator, and I was really mystified as to why I don't even have humidity control on it, because I've had that on every refrigerator I've ever bought. I do like that these drawers are super deep. In fact, these bottom ones are 22 inches deep, so there's really a lot of drawer space for stuff. I just wish that I had a little bit more control over them. The fact that I don't is kind of a head scratcher. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool new recipes, get some great cooking tips and tricks and all sorts of other kitchen related things, then start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell so you never miss a thing. Moving down to the freezer, this refrigerator has quite a few features here. You can see I've got a little ice scoop right here. You've got this cover for the ice trays, and if you open this up, we have 2 different kinds of ice. We got these bigger chunks like this, and we've got smaller ice cubes like these. This machine has 2 independent ice makers, so really if you have an ice maker failure, you do have the option for a second one. Also, this cover right here can be a little bit sticky. On the higher end Bespokes, this has ball bearings in it. This just slides back and forth right on the plastic. So sometimes this can stick a little bit and the little mechanism back here doesn't grab this and pull it back. When I originally got this refrigerator, it wouldn't pull it back at all because this was warped. And Home Depot ended up just giving me a replacement one out of one of their other refrigerators on the floor. But occasionally it will miss this and not open this up and you have to push it back yourself. Not really a deal breaker, but it is annoying. Also, another thing to know about with this ice maker, which can be annoying, is the fact that when you're scooping ice, you're scooping ice out of the front like this. The way this thing knows when the ice trays are full is measuring it from the back. So if the tray is full in the back, it's not going to make more ice. So as you use it from the front, you got to pull your ice forward constantly, otherwise it's going to stop making it. What? That's a little bit irritating. I mean, it's not really a deal breaker for me, but it might be for other people. In any case, it's a vast improvement over Samsung's older refrigerators that had the ice makers inside the refrigerated area up here. Those constantly leaked or just broke altogether or froze over. There were all kinds of problems with those, and Samsung did have a bunch of lawsuits they had to deal with as far as it goes. So in my opinion, having the ice maker down here in the freezer section is a much better idea. That way you avoid most of those problems. The freezer has 2 separate trays. It's got this upper one here that we got our ice trays in, and this section over here, or I can push this back, and I got a pretty deep section over here for all kinds of other goods. It's a pretty good sized freezer and I don't really have any complaints about capacity or anything like that. So as far as that goes, we are pretty good. Another thing that I do like about this refrigerator is that if you're using the app, it will tell you whenever it's time to change your filter. Basically, it's just counting days, and after about 6 months or so, it's going to tell you to change it. But if you set it to, you could have it automatically order replacements through Amazon for you. That's a feature I think is pretty convenient, but I've never actually used it because I just get the HDX versions of the filters from Home Depot and I save a bunch of money. As far as the exterior on this machine goes, I don't have any chips or cracks in any of my glass panels. No scratches anywhere on the refrigerator. No cracks on any of the shelves or the pitcher or anywhere else on here. In fact, this refrigerator looks pretty much brand new. At the end of the day, it holds the temperature that I set it to, and I haven't had any kind of service related problems at all other than that ice tray cover. If you look really close, you can see that my doors don't quite line up. That's not a Samsung thing, that's on me because I'm lazy. Samsung gives you a bunch of shims for this, and really all you gotta do is open the door, lift the whole thing up, and then slap a shim underneath it, and that'll level this right out. It's just so close that I never really bothered with it, and frankly, I don't really care. The last thing I'd like to mention is the fact that the compressor runs really quiet. In fact, it's running right now. I don't know if you can hear it on the microphone or not. But as far as refrigerators goes, this is probably the quietest one that I've ever owned. Keep in mind that I've had these doors open and closed a whole bunch of times, so it's actively on trying to cool this thing back down again. So this is about as loud as this thing is going to be. Power-wise, the fridge is pretty energy efficient also. In fact, if you look in the app, it'll even show you historically how much power your fridge is using. Also, it'll tell you how many times you open the door, so if you're gaining weight and you don't know why and you've opened your door 300 times in the last week, well, it'll tell you that too. Overall, I've been pretty darn happy with this thing. It looks really nice, which I'll have to admit that is a big selling point for me, and it hasn't broken on me yet. In fact, I like this enough to where I bought a second one to put in the studio. So far, I'm pretty darn happy with my Samsung Bespoke Refrigerator. Frankly, most of the things I don't like about it revolve around features that are missing that, for the life of me, I don't understand why they're not there. All that stuff is pretty common fare, so the fact that it's not featured on this fridge is just really weird. But at the end of the day, the things that I do like, I like quite a bit. And the best part is that I haven't had any service-related issues. If you'd like a little bit more information about Samsung Bespoke Refrigerators, I do have an Amazon affiliate link for them down in the description of the video. If you buy anything through those links, I do make a small commission, but it doesn't change the price that you pay 1 cent. Hey, Joe's Phenomenal now has channel memberships. For most people, you can see a join button down below the video window that you can click and see what type of perks I'm offering. If you're using an iOS device, you might not be able to see it, and if that's the case, I do have a link down in the description of the video as well. If you like this video and you'd like to see the full review of it, I do have it linked right here. That video goes a lot further in depth with the features that the refrigerator does have. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you back again here really soon, and until that time, I'm Joe, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Take it easy.